Welcome back to your channel Demystify Frontend, and this is yet another video in the series Build Your Own Angular Forms. So in this video you will learn about how to apply the async validation directives in your template driven forms. So before we truly understand it, we should have a clear understanding of the various parts involved in the validation process, and this holds true for both the type of validations, synchronous or asynchronous validation. So on your screen I have shown some parts here which are involved in the validation process. If I talk about the template driven forms, what are the three steps you will take to apply a validation on your form element? So you will apply the ng model directive. So this is the primary directive which you will have to apply, otherwise your validation won't work. So ng model not only provides the two-way data binding, but it also validates your data. Okay, and once the ng model is applied, you will apply your validation directive. Now to get access to the actual validation errors and the status of your form element, whether it is a valid or invalid, you will have to export the ng model into a template variable, and through the template variable you have access to all the validation related flags like errors, valid, invalid, everything. Now where are these flags coming from? So these flags are coming from this part, that is form control, and we also call them form models. So form models basically keep a track of the value and the validity of your form elements, and every time the form control value is updated, it will revalidate it and update all the status flags which you can consume in your templates. So these are the three parts. Now let's understand each part in detail and also see how they interact with each other. So let's see the interaction first. So this is how they interact with each other. So first you define your directive. Now ng model validate your data, right? But it is not aware of like what validations you have applied and what is the logic written within those validation directives, right? So it is the responsibility of your validation directive which you develop separately. But to integrate these validation directives with the ng model, Angular makes use of the dependency injection, and Angular will inject this di token ng async validators, and through this di injection it will get access to all the validation directive which are applied on the form element. And now since ng model has access to the array of validation directives, it will normalize all the array of validation directives into a single function, and it will then call the set async validators method on the form control and pass that validation function which it has prepared, so that the next time whenever there is a change in the value, form control can execute this validator function and update all the status and error flags accordingly. Now there is one more thing I would like to highlight here, the relationship between ng model and the form control. Here in the diagram you see ng model and the form control, they are shown as different entities, but the truth is in the template driven form, especially when you create the instance of ng model will create an instance of form control behind the scenes or internally, and through this form control it will keep track of the values and the validities of the form elements. So ng model will create instance of form control to track the status and error flags, and the next thing it will compose a validator function and set it on the form control, and whenever there is a change in the value, it will always keep the form control in sync. Means if component where you have your form element and you are passing some input property to the ng model, if it is changed, so ng model will update that value on the form control also. And likewise whenever there is a change from the user side, like when there is a change in the DOM of that input element, it will again synchronize that updated value with the form control. Now why we need to keep the form control in sync? Because every time you call the set value on the form control, it will revalidate, it will update the value and validity, right? So you must have heard about this very common function, update value and validity. So that is what it does, it will update the value and all the status flags on the form control. Okay, so that's it. And now let's move to the implementation part.